Good morning, everybody. My name is BDF44, and thank you for clicking on my face. Today, I want to talk about snitching. Snitching from an outside person's perspective. I'm not a street dude. I didn't sell drugs in my life. I haven't put myself in positions to have to risk my freedom as it pertains to try to make a dollar. Fortunately enough, but the way life is going, I still have to be aware of what's going on out there. I still have to be aware of the importance of how to maneuver when others are living a certain way or living that way specifically. Excuse me. What I want to say about my understanding of snitching is that in all things considered altogether, what we don't want to do is to continue to feel like we have to live our lives in ways that risk our freedom. I think some people in this world, some people in the hip hop community, the black community, in the poverty, people in circumstances where it doesn't feel like they have a whole lot, they have been raised in a culture or have been forced to adapt to a culture where things like that are already taking place. So whether you have a certain level of ethics, a certain sense of what you believe in terms of not wanting to do certain things across certain lines, the reality is in order to survive in certain neighborhoods and in certain circumstances, certain scenarios, you have to kind of just make a decision to either play along or risk losing not only your life, but sometimes in some cases your family's life can be threatened, your loved ones' lives can be at risk because of how you handle certain situations involving people who are doing things that aren't so legal. Okay? It's very much understood in the black community particularly that we don't appreciate people who tattletale on any level. Here's the thing that I've battled with all my life. Understanding everything that I've already said in regards to snitching. When somebody is doing something flat out wrong, though it is not my place to say a goddamn thing at all, it is also not my place to be comfortable with the understanding that they are doing something that can harm others and sleep well at night. That's where I'm coming from with this. I wouldn't sleep well at night if I were involved in something that was illegal and I decided after being caught that it's in my best interest to sell out the people who also were involved in whatever it is I was doing. I wouldn't sleep well at night knowing that I was doing that, because there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with what it is that you're doing and a certain level of culpability that comes with being caught doing it. Okay, but when you're in those rooms with those people and they throwing numbers out there, football numbers at you, and they telling you what all kinds of reach they have in regards to affecting lives of you and your family, it brings a certain level of reality into your understanding that, even though I don't believe in this or that, this is what's in front of me, and the sacrifice is great. Not only for myself, but for my loved ones and whatever is going on, they have, they basically have you by the balls, so to speak. So I can understand why some people cave. I can understand why some people aren't strong enough to make a decision that keeps them in jail while not letting others off who may not have been caught like you in that situation. I understand that I don't understand it in terms of never been through it, and I know it's a lot worse than I think, but I get the gist of it in terms of, okay, not everybody's built like that. Not everybody's strong enough to withstand the pressures of what comes with being caught doing something bad or whatever. So that understanding is there. Then you have just the overall politics of life, and I've mentioned this several times, where you can do certain things and you think you understand what's going on, and you find out that certain people are tied to other people and other things happen because of it, and it could just become a web that's far beyond your reach and your understanding. And I think that's why ultimately I lean toward the notion that people should be very, very careful as to not find themselves in circumstances to begin with, finding themselves privy to knowledge that otherwise would put them in those positions. It's best not to be involved if you're not wired to handle those circumstances. You know, sometimes people think stuff is a game, you know, when you're young, particularly, and you're surrounded by influential wrongdoers, I guess, and so to speak. You're gonna find yourself in a situation where you're influenced and may follow them if you're not strong enough in the mind. And with that comes variables that you're probably not considering just because you're trying to fit in or trying to be cool or trying to make some quick money or whatever small-minded thinking that may be going on in that circumstance and in that decision making. But once you find out how real it gets, you know, you realize what you're made of, and some people aren't built for that. So I've stayed away from that, knowing that I was not someone that wanted to even find out if I was built for something like that. And I'm blessed, fortunately, and privileged enough to have been in circumstances where I wasn't forced to, wasn't desperate enough to, wasn't raised in a circumstance where anything like that was a norm for me. So I don't judge anybody who's found themselves in those circumstances, nor do I think that you're vilified, nor do I think that you can't rise above whatever it is you're involved in right now. And I think you should. I think you should understand that as much money as you make, it ain't secure. When you are an enemy of the state, whatever funds you have, as soon as your shit goes to shit, excuse my language, the money's gone. They will take everything they can get their hands on. And they'll throw you in jail and you'll stay there. And that's so the risk versus reward has never made any sense for me, having not been in those circumstances, having not been raised in those circumstances, and having not been desperate enough to find myself in those situations. Not of the mindset that I need too much material in this lifetime to where I can't live without it, without taking certain risks. I'm not in that position. I don't have, kids and all that. So I don't feel like my life alone needs to be, treated with that type of desperation at this point at all. Also, I believe, as it pertains to snitching, it's not limited to the selling of narcotics, but I do believe, just my personal, wants in it for myself, that I don't want to poison people. I know drugs sell themselves. I know people are going to do what they do. But for me, I never desired to want to make people zombies, force people into damaging themselves in the name of coping with their pain or coping with their mental illness. I understand the importance of narcotics for people who are suffering. I get it. I get that more now than I ever have in my life, in terms of struggling with my own mental health and struggling with some of my own circumstances. It's hard, and that's just me. I don't have a very bad case of anything. So for those who are dealing with worse, let's look at the pain and the mental anguish that causes them to find themselves find themselves in circumstances where they're addicted, or find themselves in circumstances where they want to try something, or find themselves in circumstances where they want to numb themselves. Let's attack not the fact that they're on drugs, not the fact that they're finding those drugs from somewhere, but let's attack the circumstances that make them turn to those drugs in the first place. And that's what I want to say about that. Now, as far as how else do I say what I'm thinking here? It's very difficult for me to describe this particular thought. If you have to have all that comes with being wealthy, and a lot of people feel like they have to have that for status purposes, for living purposes, just out of fear of being poor, they have to get extreme amounts of money to cushion that fear. It's a lot of things that drive people: greed, expensive taste, relationship status, and things that come with that. It's a lot of things that drive people to power. When you make the decision to go all in for that, know that you are you are a coin in the piggy bank for whomever it is that is in a position to own prison system, those who are in position to capitalize off the prison system, those who are in position to capitalize off of incarceration of any kind. You are a coin in their piggy bank. Whatever your risks are, whatever you're trying to do, whatever it is that you're accomplishing, even if you're successful in it or not, if something goes wrong, if someone snitches on you, or if you get caught, or someone gets sloppy around you, or something of that nature, you're a coin in that piggy bank, bro. For me, that's enough to keep me from being greedy or being involved or trying to seek out trouble in that regard. And again, if you grew up in that and that's your world, that just don't apply to you. That's all you know. This don't apply to you. But for those of y'all like me who are square, who wasn't raised in those type of circumstances, who now have a position to turn and look and see what options they have to try to fix their lives, if it's going to take away my freedom, pull me away from my family, and ultimately make somebody else rich on because of it, no, it's not worth it. I think what we have to be aware of when we take these chances is that the traps have been set to catch us. The money and the drugs, all of that shit is out there so that they can make us coins in the piggy bank. You see what I'm saying? That's why I appreciate pieces of art like Snowfall. Because they shine a light on the fact that the drugs came into these communities as a means of tearing the people apart. Not as a means of helping you cope, not as a means of making you rich. They wanted to put you in positions to risk your life so they could throw you in jail and make money off of you. That's what came first. People say the chicken or the egg. In that case, that's what came first. Not your desire to be rich, not your poverty necessarily. They made you poor. They gave you toxins to sell to your own, to destroy your own, and ultimately turn you into a coin. So when you understand the setup, you understand you're in a rat race, in a trap. You understand that it's set up for you to fail. Whether it takes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, eventually it's going to take you down if you let it. Or what they're going to do, which is what they've always done. They let the wolves eat the wolves. Let them kill each other. The game is rigged, is what I'm saying, y'all. It's rigged. And the people who've been successful in doing it transitioned out of it. And you got the rare few who made it. They probably died violent lives. They probably found themselves in circumstances where people didn't really respect them as it pertains to their humanity. They weren't taken seriously in other areas. And even if they transitioned, they were always still looked as somebody who crossed the line. Look at Jay-Z, for example. Is he getting the benefit of the doubt that he otherwise thought he would get? No. Do you know what a lot of people are saying about Jay-Z in regards to not giving him that benefit of the doubt? He was a drug dealer. He sold poison to his own people. He got rich off the backs of his own people in the first place. Does that limit Jay-Z to what he's done? Does that take away every good thing he's ever done? It does not. But for those who want to use ammunition against him in regards to belittling what it is that he's trying to accomplish, and looking at what he's saying and how he's doing it and using it as a means of taking it all the way to vilify him completely, as opposed to looking at it objectively and saying maybe he might be a little detached or away from his people, and maybe privy to some things that otherwise make him make decisions like this that we're not privy to because we're not in the rooms he's in. He ain't getting none of that benefit of doubt. This is a drug dealer who's turning on his people again. That's how they're looking at it. So when you decide to make certain decisions as a young man, when you're trying to go after big bags, taking big decisions, big risk upon your life, and you're not from that, and you weren't raised in that, that's not your world, you're opening yourself up for that type of the dismissive energy that comes with trying to change your life, and then people still looking back and seeing that demon that you've done, like, you're a drug dealer, hey dude, he ain't really about the humanity of it all. He don't really care. When maybe he was just doing that because he didn't know any better. Maybe he was just doing that because he didn't have any choice. Maybe he was doing that because, that was just the only thing he knew at the time. What I'm saying is, once you do certain things, you can't come back from that. Once you snitch, you can't come back from that. The streets will never respect you again. For better or for worse. Maybe you told on somebody who was doing something that legitimately was making the lives of people around them worse. Which in the eyes of God, in my mind, makes you a noble person. But in society, in the streets, ain't nobody out here thinking like that. They don't care about that. There's too much selfishness going on. There's too much me, and there's too much politics. For people to say, you know what? Let me set aside the possibility of making all this money. Let me set aside the possibility of getting all these short-term riches and gold and all of these good perks that come with being, quick rich. Because at the end of the day, y'all, truly at the end of the day, you're not taking a single dime with you. You're not taking anything with you. But what will be left behind is what you do, how you treated people, the decisions you make, and your works. So, yeah, you can get rich, you can get wealthy, super wealthy, but you're going to be looked at as subhuman by people who are doing horrible things in their own lives, but are not allowing themselves to be seen as such. You see what I'm saying? Those folks I was talking about that turn you into coins, they're worse than you. But the optics are better. Some of that's set up from the beginning. Some of that has nothing to do with their choices, just set up in the system that they're in. But because they have that privilege, because they have that system and you don't, you got to make decisions that are cognizant of that. You know, and obviously I'm speaking to people who are like me. But I know that there are people who are listening who are not. That's fine. Maybe you could have some perspective from me. I don't speak for an entire people. I do not. I speak for myself and I speak for my understanding. But what I do is pay attention. And I listen. You know, as it pertains to snitching matters a lot to people because it affects a lot of people. Innocent people and guilty people are all affected. Just to tie it all in. So when you go off and tattletale and whatever, just be cognizant of that. Your life could be at risk. It really could. People will look at that as a retaliatory thing. And what I understand is it's about posturing. It's all about posturing. It's all about the image. It's all about how you're seen and perceived out there. All you have is your strength. All you have is your chin that you could put up or what have you. If somebody thinks that you're weak out there, then there's going to be a lot of somebody's coming after what you have. So the whole snitching movement, the whole against snitching movement, I should say, stems from that understanding that there's a political system involved in this whole thing out here, and people need to be cognizant of it. When you enter a game that you're not privy to all the different nuances of, you can be swallowed up by that for sure. Completely swallowed up by it. So just be cognizant of what you're doing. I say be aware. That's what I mean by that. Be aware. And look, the last thing I want to say before getting out of here is this. For those who think, like, I'll just use Tekashi 6ix9ine situation as an example because it is the only one that's prevalent enough for everybody to really get right now in this era. There are a lot of people who came out and said Tekashi 6ix9ine should snitch on those individuals that he's been accused of snitching on or whatever. I don't know if the paperwork's out. I ain't seen it. But they said he was in the right because they had done this, and this to him, and there ain't no love lost. And this was always my retort to that, and this is what the streets have always said as well. There's nothing ethically positive about this. This is just what it is. People don't like snitches out there because snitching, again, puts you in the hands of those who use you as a coin, the piggy bank, puts you in the arms of the police. Everybody goes down. The good people, the bad people, everybody involved goes down. Everybody. If you're snitching on somebody, you go to jail, so do they. You're throwing them all in there to be massive coins for the piggy bank. What I'm saying is, if you're going to get revenge, the safest way to do that is not using the authorities as a means to do so. It's safer for your family, and it's safer for you if you're involved in circumstances and in cultures or in worlds where snitching is looked at as bad. It's not that people don't want you to have your revenge. See, that's what it was. 6ix9ine, it's not that people didn't want you to have your revenge. They just felt that it wouldn't be safe for you and your family if you used snitching as a tool to get that done. That was the meat and potatoes of the situation as it pertains to why he should not have snitched, or why it was looked at as a bad decision for him to snitch. Because people will attack your family over that stuff. Not because they were involved in the circumstance, not because they care so much about what you're dealing with, but because of the code and the understanding that if they allow a snitch to slide, if they allow a snitch to keep pushing, then their reputation takes a hit. It's the posturing of it all. They are looked at as snitch, friends, or whatever the word would be, as somebody who would condone that and maybe even do it themselves. And that's in that game, that's not something that can be accepted in any way. That's like accepting someone eating your food, or even tearing down your house. It's equivalent to that. So for the squares out there who don't understand that, I think that was what I was trying to convey after all this time. It's not that they don't want you to get your revenge or get the justice that you're asking for. You just, in the streets, it is necessary that you find it else in a different way. It is necessary that you don't use the authorities to make that happen. So I hope I made some sense here. Again, I'm square. I don't know what's going on outside, but I pay attention to what it is that I see and what I hear, and I analyze. And I just want to provide some insight and perspective for those who don't understand why snitching is so bad, don't understand the dynamics of it, don't understand why people would just allow bad things to continue to take place and not say anything. It's because their safety's at risk, fam. That's why. Anyway, that's all. I hope we can find a way out of this trap that we're in. I hope we can find a way to untangle the webs that have been created so that we have this system in place to continue to allow people to do wrongdoings around us and continue to go after quick money that we know is set up to have us ultimately end up in jail or dead or killing off our numbers of soldiers that we have out here. We're fighting wars that we shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves when we have real enemies. We're poisoning one another to cope with our pain instead of dealing with our circumstances and getting help for them. That's the meat and potatoes of it all. If you want to be rich, you want to be rich, but ask yourself why. Is it for reasons that are going to help uplift you and your people, or is it reasons that are going to help you cope with your mind and your pain? It's no different than a drug, fam. You're seeking your money. You're going out there making irrational decisions that don't add up. Why? For reasons that don't really make sense. All you really need is help. You need to talk to somebody in this case. If you like that, you need to talk to somebody. Because you're self-destructive, you're destroying your life. And you're destroying the lives around you, and you're not even really cognizant of it. You're not realizing it for what it is. You just think you're out here getting money. You're destroying yourself. And you're taking others down with you. Anyway, that's what I want to say, man. I hope everybody's enjoying their day somehow. After listening to this, I don't know if I made you feel better, but I hope I gave you some insight into my mind from the outside looking in. And if you're involved in those situations, no disrespect. You know what I mean? If I mentioned your name, no disrespect. I'm just a guy sitting in his apartment talking about what I think I know. And I'm learning every day, so I'm getting there. But I hope I save some lives, man. I hope I can help somebody somehow. That's my intention. BDF 44, I'm out.